Hi, everybody, and thanks for attending today's webcast, Effective Email Marketing for Accountants. This is our last webinar of the three-part webinar series in partnership with Sage and Biz Inc. Throughout the series, we learn practical ways to improve websites and online marketing to generate more of the right types of leads. If you haven't attended the first two webinars, I'd just like to quickly introduce myself. I am Liz Herbig, and I'm a marketing manager for Sage, specifically for Sage Accountant Solutions. And I want to personally thank all of our Sage Accountants Network members for attending today. We'll get started with the presentation shortly, but at the end of the presentation, we will have a couple of minutes to answer any questions you may have. Throughout the presentations, feel free to use the chat function to submit questions, and then we'll answer them during the Q&A portion. If we happen to get a lot of questions and run out of time and don't get to your question, we will contact you separately and make sure we answer that for you. And in addition to that, we will have a recording available after this webcast, and we also have the first two recordings available as well. And now, let me introduce you to our speaker for today's webcast, Matt Wilkinson. He is the CEO of BizIncOnline.com, a company that designs websites for accountants and bookkeepers. Matt presented our first webinar, and he's also worked with several Sage accountants and bookkeepers to actually do their sites, and he's attended several previous Sage summits. So some of you may have met Matt or might be familiar with Matt already. So Matt, I'll pass the reins over to you.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you to you all for coming along today. I'm really excited to present this session on email marketing to you. I was just chatting to Liz, and my background, I've been in online marketing now for almost 20 years, sad to say, and email marketing, and that's across lots of different businesses. You know, I've had my own e-commerce business. I've done online marketing for a Paul McCartney concert, a high-end skincare company, and worked with hundreds of different accounting and bookkeeping firms. There's lots of different ways I've used online marketing with all those types of businesses, but the one that cuts across them all, the one that's always got results, is email marketing. And you know, email marketing, it's been around for the longest time in terms of methods of online marketing. But it hasn't decreased in effectiveness over that time. There's maybe a bit of a I wouldn't call it a stigma, but a bit of a feeling that, you know, it's a bit old-fashioned. You know, there's other things have superseded it. You know, I'm hopefully going to show you today that isn't the case, and it should really be, you know, part of the foundation of all of your online marketing efforts. So before we get into looking at how to do email marketing, I thought I'd just run through a few reasons why you should be using email marketing. You know, don't just take my word for it. I'm going to give you some statistics and reasons why it should be a big part of your marketing mix. So the first reason is just sheer numbers. The sheer numbers of people who are using email. There were well over 4 billion email accounts in existence. 4 billion. Now that's more than double of the number of all the social media user accounts combined. You know, Twitter is 1.5 million. Sorry, Twitter's only 320 million. Facebook 1.5 billion. LinkedIn is about 100 million. So that's obviously, social media is a big opportunity. They're still really big numbers, but compared to email, you know, it's much smaller. And the way to think about it as well is, like, every serious business owner, you know, your potential client has an email address. You know, I wouldn't work with somebody who didn't have an email address. Probably you would be the same. You know, certainly in the modern world, that's probably a signifier that they're, you know, going to be a difficult client. So I'm going to say all of your clients and prospects will have an email address, and compare that to, you know, how many of them will be on social media, or even, for example, using a search engine to search for, you know, accountants or bookkeepers or what you guys do. You know, it vastly outweighs that. And you know, the other factor, it's not just numbers. is the special place that email holds on the internet. I like to describe it as like a glue that binds together everything we do online. So what I mean by that is, it's often your unique ID. It's often your username. So when you log into a site, when you make a purchase, um, all of those things we need an email address for. So it's such an important thing. And if you think about businesses, they're checking their email. Some people way too often. They're checking their email all the time. So it's a very active medium from that point of view as well. So that'd be number one reason why you should be using email. Number two, the return on investment. There was a study done by the Direct Marketing Association, so very, very credible study, which basically said that email returns $38 for every dollar that's spent on it. So if you think about search engines, that's about $22, and socials under $13. So that return on investment is really, really high. And as I'll show you when we get to the section on some of the tools that you can use for email marketing, you will see that that there's a very low investment needed to reach a lot of people. So the final reason that I wanted to give you is the personal nature of email. When email is done right, it can be an incredibly personal medium, and that makes it really powerful. If you can really target your emails, I mean, okay, it's not one-on-one, but there's the ability there to create one-on-one conversations. Somebody can just hit reply, and then you're talking to them. And that's not the same with other forms of marketing. Things like search engines can get you in front of a lot of people, but it's more like just an advertising type medium. So not necessarily as powerful. And because email is so old, people are very familiar with it. People are comfortable with it, and for that reason, again, it's powerful. So 3 reasons there, there's the sheer numbers, the really good return on investment you get from email, and the fact that it can be very personal. There are other reasons, but for me, those stand out. Okay, so the heart of this session today, we're going to look at how you actually do email marketing, what are the types of email marketing you should be doing, and we'll go through how you construct those emails. But before we get to that, I want to talk about list, because this is often the bit that gets missed out when we're talking about email marketing, and it's actually the most important part. So I really, really want to stress that to you, is that the quality of your list is much more important than the campaigns that you do. So I'll explain that a bit more, but by list, what I mean is the database of contacts that you have. Basically the list of email addresses. Sometimes you will have names with those as well. And what I mean by a good quality list is, you don't want people on there who you've not really had a proper relationship with. You don't know who they are. You don't even know if they're interested. You might have bought a list. Highly recommend that you don't do that. The quality is normally atrocious and can get you in trouble with spam, anti-spam laws. But the opposite of that is a quality list, obviously, which is people who are engaged. They've signed up with your list because they're interested, or you've had a relationship with them. And also that I haven't said their quantity. Its quality is really important. So better to have 100 quality names than 1,000 that you're not really sure of. And even if you had a list of 1,000 that had like 100 good names on it and 900 ones you didn't know, that's not great as well, because a bigger list of variable quality, it's going to cost you more to send to that list. It's more likely that your email will get marked as spam, um, and just your emails aren't going to get opened as much. Your email campaigns aren't going to be as effective. So that's going to be a bit disheartening when you're running campaigns. So just think of it this way, that like if somebody's interested in something and you send them an email, that's there's a strong attraction there. That's what you want to be doing, sending people stuff that you've got a pretty good idea they're going to be interested in. And sometimes I've put list singular here. That could be plural. You might have different lists for different types of clients and prospects, so you can send them really relevant information, and that's called segmenting your database, chopping it up to make it more appropriate for certain audiences. So in terms of building your list, now some of you, I'm sure most of you have a database of clients and prospects, and you'll have their email addresses. But how can we build that? Because building that list over time, it should be one of your key marketing objectives. Like I say, every online business I've run or been involved in, having a strong email list has been one of the core marketing goals. How do we get that list and start building it week by week, month by month, and then sending emails to it? So you'll want some tactics to start building your list. So the first one of those is inviting clients. Now you might have all of your clients' details and you could send them an email straight away. You might already be doing that with like an email newsletter. But do you have a system for adding new clients? Do you tell them that they're going to start getting your newsletter? That can be a nice courtesy, and ensures your list has got what's called permission. So people have given you expressed overt permission to send to them. But I've put clients here. It might be that you even invite people who aren't clients, but maybe you've had like a sales meeting with them. They're a very warm prospect. You could ask them if they mind that you send a newsletter to them. The occasional useful email. Most people will say yes to that. You obviously will get to that in a minute, but you're going to give them the option to unsubscribe if they don't want it. So clients and sort of friendly people. You might also add in here like partners as well to your newsletter list. So by partners, I mean maybe local lawyer, insurance guy, business broker, those people that you have a business relationship with, who who might give you referrals and that kind of thing. Because what we'll get to it in a bit. What for example, a newsletter is going to do is just give you top of mind awareness with clients, prospects, partners. Unfortunately, people aren't thinking about your firm, very much. You've got to make them think about it, and that's a great thing that an email newsletter can do. Just reminds them that you're there every month, and that's really important, and we'll look at why shortly. Another great way to build your list is through networking and events. Because obviously we don't just want to be sending email to existing clients or people, who we know. We want to start adding people who we don't know, prospects, and building a relationship with them, and obviously eventually getting them into sales meetings and converting them into clients. So face-to-face meetings, such an important part of business development in any accounting or bookkeeping firm. We're in the relationships business, right? And so nothing beats face-to-face. So, I'm sure quite a few of you go to local networking events. You might run your own events. You possibly go to conferences as well. They're all opportunities both to meet people, but also to sort of build your list. Obviously we always try and exchange business cards, but maybe, when you do the follow-up to somebody that you've met at an event, send them an email, say hi and say, do you mind if I add you to our newsletter? We'll send you the occasional useful business email. Again, most people are going to say yes to that, and again, you're building your list. And, it's a bit, it's a bit more kind of interesting than just your exchange business cards, say hello. And again, it's building that top of mind awareness once you start to send those people emails. And like I mentioned, maybe you're running your own event or conference, or you're attending a conference. You could come away with a lot of email addresses at the end of something like that. When we have a stand somewhere, we'll always collect details, ask people if they want to receive our email marketing, and so we build a lot of leads onto our list that way as well. So the final list building technique that I would really advise you to have a look at is using a lead magnet. And what I mean by a lead magnet is it's generally a piece of useful content or something that you'd give away, generally on your website, in exchange for a person's email address. So I'll show you some real examples of this in just a second, but the kind of thing, you'll have seen the kind of thing, which will be, download an ebook and you've got to give your email address to get that ebook, something like that. And the reason why that's really important is most people who visit accountants' websites will not get in touch with you. You will know that, and that's not because your website is no good. That's just the nature of the business we're in. Is that people visit. They're generally in what I would call research mode. They're not necessarily ready to engage you or a firm. They're just doing some research. And people take a long time to make that decision. They procrastinate, we all know that. So it might take weeks, months, sometimes even years to convert, somebody into a client. And there's lots of reasons for that. There's the high perceived pain of switching accountants. People just can't be bothered. They get busy, which doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, but that's one of the big factors that makes marketing hard for accountants and bookkeepers. So the key is that generally what will make them ready to buy is it's nothing you do on your end. It's that they become ready to engage a firm, and the key then is to be top of mind when they're in that. They've changed from research mode to buying mode. So the purpose of a lead magnet is people visit your site, they're not ready to engage you, so they don't give you a call, they don't drop you an email. But if you can offer them something really valuable, that's very low friction, as in they only need to give their email address, well, that's great, because then they get something of value, they go away, and you've got their email address, and you can start talking to them. And that's the beginning of a conversation, a nurturing process, which can be done by email and can even be automated a lot of the time, as I'll show you. That begins, and when they do become ready to engage you, you're already top of mind with them. So a couple of examples of a lead magnet. This is one of BizInc's clients, and you can see here they have this need help with writing a winning business plan. And this is where they give away a business plan template, and there's a free course which helps them fill in that business plan. So a really valuable piece of content. All they have to do is give their name and email address. So they initially get this automated series of emails, which is one of the methods of email marketing that I'm going to show you shortly. But in terms of what we're talking about here is building the list. What would happen is once they've done that business plan course, they go onto the newsletter list. So you think of the people who visit this website, probably if it's like most accounting websites, probably only about 1% of people will get in touch, 1% of the visitors. That's hard to move that up for the reasons I gave you before. Is not because that anything to do with the website. It's just to do with the that most people who visit accounting websites are in research mode. They're not ready to engage. But a much higher percentage of people download this course. Well, they didn't download it. They just sign up for the course. And so that's really increasing the effectiveness of the website as a selling tool. So here's another one here on another one of Bizink's clients is basically what they call their cash flow kit. Just another piece of useful content, and all someone has to do is give their email address to get that content. So we've had a look at why you should be using email marketing, and we've also had a look at the importance of the list. Why having a really good list of contacts is essential, and then we've just looked at some ways to build that list. So at first your list might be quite small. You may just have a few clients on there, a few local businesses that but that's okay. You've got to start somewhere. Every business has to start somewhere, and that doesn't mean you can't start sending emails, even if you've just got a handful of names on your list. So in terms of what to send, I'm going to show you 3 ways to use email marketing to promote your accounting firm. And these to me are the 3 kind of pillars of email marketing that I think every firm should be using. So number 1, the email newsletter. Now I'm going to guess that many of you will already have an email newsletter, and I'm going to guess as well that it doesn't do that much for you, because I work with a bunch of accountants and bookkeepers across the globe. Many of them send an email newsletter, and that would probably be the only email marketing that they really do, but many of them don't get much from it. So what I'm going to do is go through some of the things that some of the problems that I often see, and then I'm going to move on to how to kind of create a really good newsletter. So the first thing is your email newsletter mobile friendly? Because if it's not, most people won't read it. Most people read email on their phones now. At least in the first instance, they will read them on a phone. So I still see the odd newsletter done in like as an attachment in like a PDF or Word. If you do that, you can pretty much say it's going to go straight into the trash. If it's too long, doesn't fit on a mobile screen, it's just not going to get read. So mobile friendly is really, really important. The second part is your email newsletter actually really useful, or is it just canned content? Is it compliance content? Like compliance content doesn't really get read, unfortunately. Business owners don't really want to read about tax. They want you to solve that stuff for them. That's why they hire you. So they don't really want to read a newsletter about tax. They want to read about things that help their business. How do they grow their business? How to remove stress, get more cash. They don't want to read about tax law. I mean, you probably don't want to read about it, but you've got to. So, yeah, don't put that kind of content in your newsletter. So, some of the things about your newsletter, if it's useful, have your clients ever made a positive comment about it? Maybe you ask them. But some newsletters have a lot of stuff about the staff. Or the accounting firm. Again, that content it's not really that interesting to people. People are all about what's in it for them. They don't, they're not really that bothered about what what you do. They just want their problems solved. So the other thing is your newsletter targeted? This comes down to the list quality, like I was talking about. If all your clients are very similar, if you have clients all in the same niche, then by all means just send one newsletter. But maybe you've got a mix of business clients, business advisory clients, say tax clients, personal clients. If you have that kind of mix, then you shouldn't be sending them all the same information. What you should be doing is chopping up your lists. So segmenting is the kind of marketing term. Segment your lists and then send them relevant content. So, is it targeted? That's really important as well. Final thing I would say is, does your newsletter sell? Now, your newsletter isn't primarily a direct sales tool. It's an awareness thing. It's to keep you top of mind. It's to add value, but there should be something, I believe, in every single newsletter where you offer a service or something people can buy from you, because ultimately people have a business relationship with you, and they want you to help them. So making them aware of ways you can help them is really important. And so every newsletter for me should have some useful information, kind of educational articles, that kind of thing, but also something where you try and sell. So let's move on to some of the things that a really good email newsletter should really do. First of all, you're trying to demonstrate ongoing value to clients. Keeping clients is essential to your business model, right? Customer acquisition costs pretty high, so having a low churn rate is really important. And while providing a newsletter of useful content, isn't going to be the only factor why people stay with you, or make up for if you've got some big deficiencies in your customer service. It's not going to overcome those. It's one big fact. It's one important factor in creating a positive impression, because you never want that objection, which I've heard from some firms that talk to me when they've lost a client. They said that what they said to us, that we never heard from our accountant. You don't want to be that person, and email newsletter makes it really easy. Just like I say, it's not going to be the be all and end all in terms of your client relationship, but it's certainly one thing that you can do that's fairly straightforward to create that positive impression. So like I talked about targeting, you might need several newsletters. That's what I would be potentially looking at if your clients aren't all the same. If you serve different niches or industries, then segment your list and have different newsletters for those. Even if it's only sending to like 10 people, who you might do some personal financial work for, that's going to make that much more powerful. What you should also do is make sure that I would send it every month. Quarterly is not enough, and more than monthly, you'd have to be a really good writer to be able to do that. I think monthly is perfect kind of time frame. But make sure that you send every month, and send on the same time every month, so people know it's regular. It's not like they'll be looking out for it, I don't think, but it's important just to have that regularity to it. And that also helps your workflow, in terms of planning and getting ready to send it. In terms of when to send it, by the way, we find Tuesdays are a really good set day to send emails within work hours. You can test that stuff, and we'll talk about reporting a little bit later. But I would say, generally Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays tend to be best days to send. And like I mentioned just a moment ago, promoting yourself is really important in your newsletter. So, the main purpose is demonstrating ongoing value, but don't miss that chance to sell. Every month, if you're sending a newsletter, you're going to get in your client's inbox. And let's be honest, for most firms, that you probably, a lot of your clients do not know all the things that you could help them with. They've probably got services which that they could benefit from, but you've not told them about. And you can't necessarily meet them all the time if you've got a large client base. So this is a great way to go get those services in front of them. And particularly if you can relate those to the content. You could have in your newsletter an article about managing cash flow, and that could be followed by a very specific offer on, how you could help clients with cash flow management. And back that up as well. If you can do something like put in some proof, like a great testimonial with some numbers, that's going to make that sales piece really powerful as well. So that's newsletters. The second type of email that I think you should be sending is email blasts. And this is something that I think a lot of firms don't do, but could really benefit from. Now, email blast is just a term I use for selling or promoting one thing in an email, i.e., you send an email about one service to your list. So key here is one thing. Don't try and this goes across any type of marketing. The most effective marketing is where you do one thing at one time. If you do an email and it's got 4 products in it, it's not going to be 4 times as effective. It's going to be probably, a quarter, or it's going to get ignored often because people don't know what to look at. So if you're going to promote something, promote one thing. It could be a service you offer. It could be an event. Just send an email blast about that. So a singular email about that topic. And this is one really reinforces that message that I gave you earlier, which is that the list is more important than the email. So, a really targeted list with an, average email is much better than, average list and a really good email. So, example I would give you, you might be launching, let's say, a new wealth management service for high net worth individuals, and there are only 20 of your clients that fall into that category. So, you don't send that message to all, say you've got 500 clients, you don't send it to 500, you send it to 20. Because, even if you crafted the best message ever to 480 of those people, it's irrelevant, and then they're just going to ignore it. And that doesn't have a neutral effect. That can have a negative effect if you're sending people stuff that's not relevant to them. But on the flip side, if that service is incredibly relevant to those 20 people, you don't have to write an amazing email. You've just got to get the offer in front of them, and that's gonna work. So that's where we talked about segmenting your data, segmenting your list. It's really important. And so the more that you know about your clients and prospects, and you've got that in your database, that's going to be really important. And that's why, like I mentioned, you should never buy lists. We do get asked that question a bit. Should we buy an email list? They're always a waste of money, in my experience, and everything that I've read about direct marketing would say never ever buy a list. It's honestly better. You're better having 2 targeted emails than 2,000 on a list that you've bought, because if you like 2 people, they're very targeted, very engaged. You could turn one of those into a client. 2,000, yeah, it sounds like a big number, but if they're not interested, or you don't even know where they've come from, total waste of time. And when you're sending email blasts, like, you will get some unsubscribes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. People unsubscribing is, as long as you're not sending too many emails or poor emails, some people just aren't interested in what you do, and that's fine. They're self-qualifying themselves, and that makes your lists more targeted. As long as you keep adding to your list, it's a good thing that people unsubscribe, because it just keeps the thing targeted. Now, a couple of the objections that people have to sending these kind of things, aren't we spamming people, or are we going to offend people with these emails? First of all, it's not spam to send emails to people who've either opted in or you've got some relationship with. Um, and in terms of offending people, like I say, I've been doing this for a long time, and people, the worst that'll happen, I mean, unless you're writing offensive emails, of course, is the worst that will happen is your email gets ignored. Someone will delete it, not open it, maybe unsubscribe. That's the worst. People always say things like, "Oh, I hate getting email," but what people say and what they do is totally different. We've all experienced that. What people say and what they do is totally different. And the reality is, no one cares. Um, so don't worry about sending emails. The kind of frequency that I would send with emails, I would be sending one email blast every month to clients and to prospects. It might be the same one, but I would be doing that every single month, month in, month out. Um, you know, Promoting something, you might have 12 services you could do. It might be some events that you mixed into there. It might be, you repeat stuff, because repetition also works. If you send an email blast, next week, first week of October, you might get 20% open rate, 30, maybe over 40 if you're really lucky, but that means that the majority of people didn't open it. Now, does that mean they weren't interested? Maybe, but a lot of them will have just been busy on holiday, caught them at the wrong time, whatever, who knows? We don't know. So send it again. Wait a week, wait 2 weeks. You can send the same email again. You can send it to people who didn't open it. We get that level of reporting in email, because it often takes a few goes before people bite. And the other thing is that people buy when they're ready, not when you are. And I'm always saying that to our marketing team. Just because we send out a marketing campaign doesn't mean people are interested at that time. It just means that we want our campaign to succeed. So be repetitious with email. If you get an email that works well, you've promoted a certain service, send it again in 3 months, 4 months, 5. You can sort of work that out, and we can test all of that stuff. But it will work again. Good marketing works again and again, and that's why when we turn on the TV, you sometimes see adverts that have been running for several years. People use the same stuff because it works. So that's email blasts. The final method of email that I think you should be using is email automation, and specifically drip marketing. So given that you've got limited time to do marketing, I know that's the major pain point for most accountants and bookkeepers. Then automating whatever you can is important. And there's obviously a bit of a rush to automate everything at the moment, and there's a lot of marketing that you can't automate. It just needs, yeah, we won't even get into that can of worms right now. But email is a great is a great thing that you can automate. And the type of automation that I want to focus on is drip marketing. So there are other things you can do, right? You can do things like send automated emails when you update your blog. You can even, with certain platforms, send emails when people revisit your website. They're quite advanced to set up, so I'm just going to focus on one, which is drip marketing. Now, I'll explain what it is in a second, but I'll just give you some results of a firm that we work with in Australia. They get 16 qualified website leads every month. 60% of those leads convert to clients, and each of those clients is worth $4,000 annually. And the reason they're doing that is they're using drip marketing really, really well. What drip marketing is that when somebody signs up for something on your website, you send them a series of pre-written emails. So you send those over. It could be, a few days, a few weeks. You can set the time frame. You've got their permission to send those emails, and they can unsubscribe from them if they want. And there's actually no limit to how long you keep sending those emails. So the example that I showed you earlier, this course that's drip marketing. So, they download the business plan and then they get a course over 7 days. Um, and, what that's doing, why that's powerful is it's nurturing that lead. So, someone signs up to our newsletter list, that's great, but, what do we do then? We've got to send them emails and all of that. With automation, with drip marketing, we can do some of that lead nurturing automatically. Of course, you've got to set that up initially. You've got to create that initial email. But once that's set up, that's going to keep sending those emails to whoever signs up from your website. And it goes back to that thing, people buy when they're ready, not when you are. And so, yeah, somebody comes along, they're in research mode, like we talked about. But if you can basically keep sending them emails that are useful to them, you're going to stay top of mind. So what happens, generally, they'll go through this course here, they get that over a week. And so, that's, I guess, like intensive nurturing. And hopefully some of those people get in touch. At the end of that week, they send a sort of sales email saying, do you want to talk to us about business planning? And again, then that's another bite of the cherry. They might get some more people get in touch then. But lots of people won't. And so what happens then is they just get added to the newsletter list. And that's all done automatically. So that drip marketing, think about how you could use that on your site. Could you create a course? Could you create a series of emails that's really useful to the type of businesses that you're going after? Some people don't use it for marketing. They use it for onboarding clients. A sort of really nice way to start the relationship with a new client. But basically, all good email marketing tools will allow you to go in, set up a sequence of emails, set up a trigger for that, which is normally just signing up through a form like this on the website. And once that's set up, it will just run in the background for you, which is a very nice thing to have happening. So those for me are the 3 pillars of successful email marketing. A newsletter or newsletters, as I said, you might send more than one. Email blasts sent monthly. Because that's how you actually do business using email. How you close some sales, and drip marketing, which is doing work for you even when you're in bed. So let's just quickly, as we round things off, have a look at the software that you'd need to do these kind of email campaigns. And the first thing to note is that Outlook is not an email marketing tool. You should not be using Outlook to do email marketing. Outlook is a one-on-one email tool, or maybe you copy a few people in. To do proper email marketing, you need email marketing software. There are lots of options. Among the best of those are MailChimp, Constant Contact, Campaign Monitor, and Active Campaign. There are plenty of others. They're just 4 that I've used over the years that are really good and popular, easy to use packages. So all of those will allow you to send standard email newsletters, email blasts, and automated emails as well. Now, there's more advanced features in some of that software, but all of them will just do that good basic stuff for you as well. And all of them actually have very, very low pricing for what you get. And MailChimp even has a free tier and is very popular. So check out some of those. What we'll do in the follow-up email to the webinar is put links to all of those platforms so we can you can evaluate those. Now, all of those platforms will give you a level of reporting, and that's obviously one of the big benefits of online marketing, is that we get a good level of reporting. Email marketing reporting is not as detailed as, say, website tracking. Some of you will be using things like Google Analytics on your website, and that can give you quite a lot of data. The problem with email marketing is the way, and this doesn't vary from platform to platform. There's kind of only one way it can track um, what happens, um, and because that can often be on a user's computer, you've got limited, you've got limited stats that will come out of that. But it's still pretty useful. The thing is not to obsess over individual numbers. So email marketing reporting can give you false positives and negatives. It can say someone's opened an email when they probably haven't, or it can say they didn't open it and maybe they did. I won't go into the technical details for why that is, but the key is to note that don't, obsess over going into each contact and seeing what they did, because it might not tell you the whole story. The key is to look at trends over time. So, if you send an email blast every month and, you normally get a 25% open rate, and then suddenly you get a 40% open rate, you're going to go, okay, that's obviously struck a chord with people. I might use that email again. Or, you might look at the language that you used, or what was it that got people to open that email more than others. Similarly, like, what got clicked on. Is there an email that got a really high open rate but no one clicked? That might mean that you wrote a really good subject line, but the content wasn't great. Or was there something in the email that loads of people clicked on? You're going to want to focus on that. So look at those trends over time, and then basically what we're trying to do is refine the content that you've used. We'll also have some stats on your list growth as well. If you're getting a high number of unsubscribes, that's obviously not great. You might get that if you're emailing to lists at first, you're going to get a bit of a higher unsubscribe rate, but that should kind of level out as you get into sending more emails. But what we're also trying to do here is, just basically refine what you're doing, refine your emails, see what works, see what didn't, repeat what works, and don't repeat what didn't. And the final thing would be, just like any statistics, that they're only useful so far. You want to tie those into your business goals, your business metrics as well. So, it's just like on your website. There's no point having lots of people visit if no one buys off you. What's the point? The key is really, like, am I sending these emails? Are they being opened? Are they being clicked on? And are they leading to sales meetings being booked? That's obviously the crucial aspect. So before we get into questions, I'm just going to sum up what we talked about in terms of email marketing today. The first thing is that email outperforms all other types of online marketing. You've got that return on investment of $38 for every $1 spent. That's massive. To take advantage of that, though, there's a few things that we need to do. First is to build a really good list. And so, the content of your emails is much less important than the quality of your list. And often people focus too much on creating the content, when actually, if they had a better list, that would actually drive much more success for them. The three types of email marketing that I think you need to be sending is an email newsletter, and I'm putting in the proviso of, you do all of those things that I mentioned, not just the same old firm newsletter. Email blasts, so a commercial type email, and try and send one of those every single month. That's where you do your business. Number three, email automation. So the type of automation I think you should be using is drip marketing to nurture leads. So having that lead magnet on your site and then doing some nurturing after somebody joins your list. And to do all of those things, you need the right tool for the job, which is proper email marketing software. And like I said, we'll send out the links to those tools that I mentioned in the follow-up email. And all of those will give you really good reporting on how your emails are performing, and then we use that to refine and improve, our emails over time. So hopefully that content's been useful to you. You might have some questions, and I think Liz is going to come back on and ask me. I'm happy to stick around and answer any email marketing questions that you have.
Thanks. That was fantastic. We do have a couple of questions that came in. A couple you've already answered throughout the presentation, but here's one. Are there any good resources for learning about email marketing? You mentioned a couple of software platforms, but any other resources?
Actually, some of those software platforms on their blogs or on their websites, they have some excellent educational material. I'll probably just pick out one, which would be campaignmonitor.com. They have an excellent blog and education center. They've been around for a long time, and they've really led email marketing standards. And they kind of grade their content, from beginner to advanced. So you can really go through, everything from building lists, designing emails, copywriting, the whole works is in there, and you'll find it in one place. So yeah, campaignmonitor.com is an excellent place to find out about email marketing.
Great, thank you. Okay, another one that came in about the email blast. You mentioned that we should be doing monthly email blasts, one to prospects and another one for another group, and that was customers?
Yeah, I think so. And basically this is my thinking behind that is most firms I work with, they sort of, if I ask them, do all of your clients know about all of the stuff that you can offer them? And they nearly always say no. So there's a big wasted opportunity there. It's actually, perhaps the biggest wasted opportunity that there is, because the acquisition cost of a new client is high. And so if we can sell more to existing clients, that's the most efficient way to market. The acquisition cost is gone. They already trust you. And so, we should be selling more to them. And, that it doesn't just have to be email. Email is just one part of your marketing mix. But, it's not hard to say, okay, here are 12 things, one for each month, that we could tell existing clients about. You might have a wealth management system. You might, have launched business advisory services. So send an email about them, and pretty easy to put together, get that email out to clients, and just have the discipline of doing that once per month. That's just going to make you money, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. And then in terms of prospects, let's say you've met people at events or conferences, or they've signed up for your ebook that or your lead magnet, or whatever. How are you going to turn them into a client? Well, one of the things is to, just send them an email about this is something that we help businesses like yours with. Drop us a line. Let's have a meeting. So yeah, I'd be splitting it into those two groups, and you might send the similar content, in both emails. But probably you're going to change it slightly. I think the way you address clients or prospects might be slightly different. So yeah, that's how I would split that kind of marketing.
Great, thank you. Then on a similar note, you mentioned monthly email blasts, but how often should you publish a newsletter? Would that be monthly as well?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Look, you can do it more. I mean, I signed up for various emails. I used to get an email from a copywriting guy, and he sent it every day. But like, he's one of the best email writers in the world, and so he can do that. Like, I certainly I'm not that good enough to send something even, I would even think weekly is too much. Quarterly is not enough, I don't think, because the purpose of your newsletter is to stay top of mind with clients. Well, is 4 times a year top of mind? I don't think so. So I think monthly is okay. It's, gives a bit of time to put it together. Um, it's not too much that you're annoying people, but it's frequent enough that they'll be thinking about you.
Perfect. Thank you. And then a question about what kind of offers you could put in newsletters or an email blast, like discounts or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not really an email marketing thing. I wouldn't put discounts in. I don't think that's a good way to market professional services personally. Um, I think that isn't what motivates people to choose you. They choose you because you help them, because, you're trusted, because other people have recommended you. So I personally wouldn't do price discounting. Um, I think what you want to be doing is generally in your marketing is demonstrating outcomes that you can get for people. So, we saved this person that, or, we moved this business onto the cloud and now life is much easier for them, and, X, Y, Z. In terms of what things you should be promoting, I mean, that's going to depend what services you offer. Um, but, just going back to what I mentioned a few minutes ago, is that do all of your clients know about all of the stuff that you can help them with? If not, that's what you should be sending the emails about. So it doesn't need to be commercial in the sense that you go, buy this for $299 or whatever. It's commercial in the sense of, do you have this problem? If you do, then we can help you with it. Talk to us, because that's what people want is, as a business owner, you want people to sort of help you with those stresses, there's the problems that you have. And so if you can talk to those, that's what I'll be putting in my email blasts. And then once you get them in the sales meeting, obviously the point where you're going to talk money is, um, you get get a proposal to them. But hopefully at that point they're already sold on how you can help them. The price isn't going to be as much of a big deal for them. Classic sales tactics, leave the price till last. So, yeah, hopefully that answers that question. But basically, like all of your marketing, focus on the pain points of your clients and prospects. That's the most powerful thing that you can do.
Great. And looks like we have time for one more question. We have a question about the new Canadian anti-spam laws. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So they're some of the toughest in the world. It's a great question, actually, and I just noticed that the European Union will be following with some very similar laws. So I think it's the way that it's going to be going. Now, we're working with a client in Canada, and he was quite worried about them. But there's a few things that I'm not going to call it a loophole because that sounds like you're trying to cheat the system. But basically, the if you email to an email address that's been, and this is the wording of the law, actually conspicuously published on a website, or hasn't, and it doesn't say that they're not interested in getting emails, that's okay. So, you're not going to get in trouble there if, you've emailed someone from their website, because of course, there's lots of reasons why you might want to do that. A lot of it covers more like B2C, like business to consumer type stuff, where there's like a direct offer. So, basically you're just trying to sell stuff direct to people. So it wouldn't, it wouldn't cause a problem with a lot of the things that we've been talking about today. But the key is really just to get permission from the people you're sending to. So you could do that really thoroughly by doing what's called double opt-in. So that's where someone signs up and then they get an email and they've got to click on that email to join your list. So I think all of those email platforms I talked about allow you to do that. Or just that that basically have some kind of audit trail of where people signed up from, and you can say, look, this is the evidence I've got that this person signed up for my list. Now, that all sounds like a big pain. A lot of the software will do that for you, and it will mean maybe your list growth is a bit smaller, But what it does mean in a positive sense is that, you have that really high quality list, because anyone who has signed up for it, that they genuinely want to receive those emails, and that's going to get you better results over time.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. Well, this was a fantastic session, and I think I speak for everyone that the whole series has been great. So I want to thank you for that, as well as everyone for on the call today for participating. If anyone has any further questions or would like to talk to a Sage or a BizInc representative, please feel free to contact us. You can contact Matt, or you can contact myself. Again, I'm Liz Herbig, liz.herbig, Herbig, @sage.com, and I'd welcome feedback on the entire webcast series as well. We'll be doing future webinars like that, so look for that. But again, Matt, thank you so much.
No, thanks, Liz. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone for coming along. It's been an honor to do these sessions.
All right. Thanks so much, and everyone have a good day.
Thanks, bye.